What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video on What If Deku Had the Powers of Asta, Part 5. Wow, we're really getting up in numbers. So, where we last left off... Oh yeah, before I jump into that, announcements or whatever you want to call them. Go check out the description! There's a Discord there. Go join it. If you guys didn't know, I'm a high school student, so you guys can literally message me when I'm in the middle of class. Trust me, it happened today. So, go click it. Go see how it is there. I can't guarantee it will be the best experience, but I can guarantee most people there are pretty nice and chill. Chat, make some friends. And I'll answer your messages whenever I can. So yeah, go check out the Discord down below. And let's get straight into this what if. Where we last left off, Deku had just talked with Mr. D, his devil. He'd found out that he could now use a bigger percentage of his power. He can use 8% of the devil's power now compared to the 7% he had the 5% he had previously used. And in return, he just had to chat with the devil more, which Deku really didn't mind. He didn't really find the devil to be a bad devil per se, I guess. He more or less found him to be more of a pretty, like, oh, I'm gonna scare you type of guy rather than, oh yeah, I'm gonna kill you type of guy. Deku started to go to class. Him and Aizawa really didn't train in the mornings. They trained mostly in the afternoons. So, Deku really didn't have to mind about training. They only trained in the mornings on the weekends. Deku entered the class, and the class started off how it usually does. Everyone was talking. Uraraka talked to Deku for a little bit before talking to some of the other girls. And Bakugo talked to Deku for a little bit as well, being kind of impressed by Deku's power. He didn't really want to talk to Deku that much, but he couldn't admit that Deku wasn't stronger than him. So he wanted to kind of find out Deku's secret, what made Deku so strong in such a short amount of time. Yeah. So afterwards, the class day went on as usual, and then eventually All Might came into the class. Not All Might. Aizawa came in and said, "Class, listen up. Tomorrow we'll be going to the USJ." Most of the students got excited, and then Aizawa raised his hand and he said, "Before you guys even state it, no, not the Universal Studios of Japan. We're gonna be going to the unforeseen juncture station." Most kids were kind of upset because, it's not the USJ that they had wanted. It is still a USJ, just not the same one they had wished for. But Deku got kind of excited because Deku had known what the USJ was, and he was like, "We're going to that USJ, Aizawa-sensei?" "Yes, Izuku." "Oh my god, that building was built just recently, wasn't it?" "Yes. We'll be departing tomorrow. Y'all, I wish you all get a good night's sleep. And prepare yourself for tomorrow." Deku then later meet up with Aizawa. Even though they were meant to get a good night's sleep, Deku still couldn't skip out on his training, and he knew that. Deku and Aizawa started to spar. Aizawa could instantaneously notice that Deku's speed was heightened. It wasn't by much, but he could tell Deku was nearly almost half as strong. He was 1.5 his strength from yesterday. 150%. It was weird. And Aizawa was like, "Izuku, you're a lot stronger today. Did you do anything last night?" And Deku explained, saying, "No, I didn't do anything. I talked with my quirk and asked it to allow me to gain more of its powers." "You did what?" "I talked with my quirk. I already told you, remember? I can physically speak with my quirk, or the manifestation of my quirk. And I allow it to access more of the power that my quirk holds." "More of it? How much are you accessing currently?" "Well, see, currently I'm accessing 8%, and previously I was accessing 5%. "So you gained all that power just from talking to your quirk?" "Yeah, but in return I have to talk to him more." Huh. So, what did it originally want? Like, how can you just unlock your max power? Well, he said if I want to unlock more of my power, I have to give up my body parts to him. Huh, so that's not a safe option, is it? Nope, that's why I haven't decided to do it yet, mainly for that reason. I kind of like my body parts, you know? Yeah, I guess I can see that. Is there anything else it said? No, but I can ask him. Hey, Mr. D. Yes? Is there any other way I can increase my power? Kid, just be lucky I gave you that extra 3%. You're basically infinitely stronger now than what you were previously. Hell, you should even be able to hold, what was it? Eclipse zone longer? Especially with the additional anti-magic you get proven to you, you should definitely be able to hold Eclipse Zone way longer than you did previously. Deku's like, really? Kid, think about it. You almost went down instantly after a second using Eclipse Zone prior, mainly because of the intense drain it had on you. But now that you have basically an entire extra half, you could probably actually put Eclipse Zone to actual use without it totally dicking you over. Deku thought about it for a second and realized, yeah, the only issue with his Eclipse Zone was that he didn't have enough energy to sustain it. But if he now has a longer time on his energy, then he should be able to sustain it for a little bit longer. Of course, it was nowhere near the actual ability for it to be used in battle, but it should be long enough to where at least it can do something. Deku's like, you're right. I didn't even think about that. Kid, let me tell you one more thing. Taking shortcuts isn't always the right answer. Deku looked at the devil weirdly and he's like, what do you mean isn't always the right answer? Kid, you'll understand in the future. Take it from a man who already took shortcuts in the past. Taking a shortcut is never the right answer. Deku looked at the devil kind of confused, but said okay as he went back to Aizawa. The devil said that there was no way for me to increase my powers currently. He actually recommended that I train and actually try to increase my time I can spend using Eclipse Zone. Oh, what's Eclipse Zone? Oh, it's just the name for the move I do. Remember that move where I send my magic outwards in a giant aura, causing anyone inside it to be greatly affected? Oh, that ability? Yeah. He said I should attempt to prolong its usage, rather than just quickly hastening it and using it like it is now. I should prolong its usage and control the amount of anti-magic it costs. Huh, what does he mean by control? Well, I assume, seeing how I do try to extend it out pretty far distance, if I extend it to a shorter distance, then it should theoretically be able to last longer. You know, it's like powering a giant fan and powering a small fan. It takes a lot more to power the giant fan than the small one. Huh, I see. And what do you plan to do with your skill Eclipse Zone? Well, if you think about it, it's a pretty useful skill. It can almost take out any quirk users. Just like how you can easily take them out with your quirk, my quirk can easily ruin an entire evil organization's plan just by its pure ability alone. Aizawa thought about it and figured that Izuku wasn't really lying. His skill, the Eclipse Zone as he called it, was a very strong tool, and Aizawa knew if Izuku had perfected it that he would definitely be able to control an entire situation of a battle with just his pure sheer will alone. And Aizawa also knew that there would be people trying to garner Deku's attention just to get the abilities Deku shows. And this kind of scared the man. He didn't want to see his protege fall into the hands of some person just because they wanted to have his strong skill. He sighs. Okay, Onizuku. I see. I understand your reasoning now for trying to get stronger. You'll get stronger just to make sure that nothing bad will happen to you and the ones you protect. It could assist you greatly in your goals, in your lives, and your dream. Not to mention you could protect many people with that skill. But it also could hurt many people. Not to mention you couldn't even work on a hero team with that skill. Deku kind of started to regret his sudden actions to just want to train his skill harder. He kind of already understood that at basis he really couldn't train with with other people, mainly because he knew that his skill itself would cause issues, and if he did. And since Deku had already known this, he was kind of upset. It's all aside. Don't worry about it, kid. I'm not trying to hammer on you just to hammer on you. Remember, I'm only doing this just to tell you that that's how the situation will be at the end of the day, and there's nothing that I can do to help you. Deku sighs and says, okay, I understand, Eunice. I understand, Master Aizawa. I'll work harder. Good job, kid. Deku constantly kept training with Aizawa. And the next day, while Deku was going to his... on the next day, while Deku was heading out for his USJ meeting, or the USJ thing, Deku prepared. He slapped his face a couple times with both of his hands and smiled at himself in the mirror, thinking that he was being an idiot right now, but didn't care by the cost of it. He then quickly grabbed his gear and dashed out the door. He entered into the next room, where Aizawa was and everyone else was. Before they had all loaded up onto the bus. Deku calmly smiled at the people he was sitting by. Most people had calmed down to Deku's quirk, but some people were still a little bit apprehensive about his quirk and didn't trust him nearly as much as they really should. Deku really didn't mind though, as he kind of knew that the situation itself was kind of weird. He knew that most people really, it's not like that they didn't like him, it was like his ability alone scared them, which kind of brought Deku down and made him a little bit sad. But Deku eventually coped with this and understood why the personnel were acting this way. He already knew that they really didn't mean any harm by it. It just saddens him a bit every time he heard them talking behind his back or calling his quirk demonic, even though he knows his quirk wasn't meant to be demonic. Well, he knows his quirk is demonic, but just because it's demonic doesn't mean it can't be good. Deku sighs. Bakugo notices this and tells everyone else to shut up. Bakugo had garnered a little respect for Deku. He understood that Deku was a really strong person, and if people kept talking to him like this, then Deku could actually have the issue where he goes evil. Bakugo might look stupid, but he definitely isn't stupid. He already understood the situation with Deku and knew that it was a very serious one. If Deku even got a little bit out of control, he could easily decimate not him, but almost everyone else, including their teachers. Mainly because of Deku's pure capability alone. He knew that this wasn't the time for people to laugh at him and make fun of him. Deku smiled towards Bakugo, and Bakugo kind of looked away, trying not to show any response back to Deku. Deku sits there with a happy smile on his face, knowing that his friend helped him. Deku then prepared to be ready. He knew that people would be kind of mean to him, but Deku really didn't mind as much, as he knew that was just how they acted. It wasn't like they had control over the actions that they had chosen to do, which some people knew was false, because they did have control over the actions, but Deku knew that the reactions of the personnel were just that. They were how they reacted, not how they knew how Deku acted. So if he just started to act nicer and get to know everyone, then he could actually treat everyone better and not, or have everyone treat him better and not how they treat him currently, like he's some scum. Deku smiled at the thought as he prepared himself. Deku then, when they got there, got up and walked out. Aizawa had already told him basically what to do, so Deku had a rough understanding of what to do. He didn't really want to do too much, but he knew he could at least attempt to walk in. Aizawa got up as well and walked out. All the rest of the students followed behind. Deku was kind of happy. He knew that his situation itself wasn't as bad as most people thought it was. And Deku didn't mind. He talked with Mr. D on the way, but their conversation had been mainly lighthearted. Mr. D launched some jokes at Deku because he could tell that Deku was starting to feel slightly saddened. But Deku just smiled and said, "It's no problem. Everything's okay." Mr. D kind of understood what Deku meant by that and just sighed, and he said, "Okay, that's what you say, Izuku." Deku had started being called Izuku by the devil. The devil kind of did it subconsciously. It's not even like he really meant to. But now that he's done it, he really finds it more difficult not to call him Izuku rather than just calling him Kid. He couldn't understand why. Maybe it was something in his being telling him to just call the kid Izuku. He had no clue. When they entered there, the devil told Izuku that something felt off in this room, almost like an ominous aura. Deku was confused by what the devil had said until a purple smoke started to form into the center. And then a group of people started to pour out. A man who looked to be about around just a little bit older than Izuku, and another man who looked to be purple smoke. Suddenly, purple smoke enveloped Izuku as well as everyone else that was there, and sent them to different areas. Deku was shocked at this, because he didn't know what to do. He looked around to see if he can spot anyone else. He noticed he was on a boat, and there were two other people. Both were personnel from his class. He looked and saw that it was the kid with purple hair, which Deku was pretty sure called Mineta, and a girl who looked to be frog-like that Deku was pretty sure is called Sue. He had thought both their quirks were pretty cool, so he had kind of kept a slightly mental note of him. Sue and Mineta both looked at Deku, and with a shocked and scared look, Deku said, "Okay, we need to prepare to get out of here. I know y'all don't trust me as much, but we need to go." Sue and Mineta both looked at each other. Then Sue looked back at Deku, and she said, "Well, it's not like I don't trust you. It's just that there's been pretty bad rumors going around about you." Deku sighed because he had already known this was the case. He knew that there was bad rumors circulating to him about his quirk and stuff, and Deku said, "Let me guess, it's about my quirk?" And Sue went, yeah, it's about your quirk." Deku sighed and he says, "Don't worry about my quirk. It's not in any way of a danger to you, and it won't be a danger to you. It's not something that can get out of control like some of the other classmates' quirks that we have. It's just a quirk. That's all it is." Sue kind of looked at Deku kind of weird, like she hadn't really doubted Izuku's statement, but she knew that it was kind of like a weird case scenario. She didn't want there to be an incident where she can't do anything and maybe her friends might get damaged. But she knew Izuku wasn't really a dangerous man, so she decided to go along with Izuku. Izuku said thank you. And Mineta's like, well, if Froppy's going, then I guess I should go too. Froppy goes with Deku and Izuku. I mean, Mineta and Izuku. Deku said to Mineta, there looks to be villains in the water. Froppy, if I remember correctly, your quirk has to be water burst. Or water stuff. So obviously they don't know who has what quirks, or they wouldn't put you where you have an advantage here. I have an idea, Deku says, and Froppy asked, well, what's your idea? If you don't know, my quirk works around anti-magic. What's anti-magic? Anti-magic is... No, not anti-magic, my bad. Anti-quirk energy, which works very similar to Aizawa's quirks. I can't really use it to its full extent, but that's how the quirks work. Okay. And what does that have to do? You see, it even works on transmitter quirk. I mean, not transmitter. Mutation quirks. It works against them. So if I were to use my quirk on a mutator style quirk user, it would cause them extreme pain. Like, I mean extreme. Froppy started to get slightly nervous because the basis of her quirk is a mutation style quirk. And Deku said, don't worry, I won't be using it against you. But there's a certain field I can generate. My anti-quirk energy works in a number of different ways. It works so it can be used defensively and offensively. You guys have only seen it offensively because the defensively costs a lot of my energy. Like a metric ton of my energy. Okay, and what does your offensive capability do? Well, you see, my offensive capability is quite simple. I mean, my defensive. I asked for your offensive. Oh, okay. I figured you would inquire about my defensive. My offensive capability is quite simple, actually. See, what you guys see is called my black form when I activate it. My black form is a very simple thing. It boosts my speed, strength, and agility, and gives me my ability to fly. Okay. Wait, you can fly? Yes. There are also some other lighter techniques that are mixed in, but those cost me to have a very specific sword out or something else. Okay. And your defensive ones? Well, my defensive capabilities are probably what I consider to be my strongest capabilities. Because my defensive can be mixed with my offensive if I have enough energy, which I don't currently. What does it mix to? Well, see, my defensive ability is called Eclipse Zone. Eclipse Zone? Why is it called Eclipse Zone? Well, see, the entire area around me becomes black. And then inside that area, you can't use your quirk, no matter what your quirk is. And it causes mutator style users to have intense pain. Well, heavy mutation style quirk users. Not like Bakugo's mutation style, but one more akin to your own. So as you see, I can't use my defensive ability at all. Yes, I see that. That would cause issues. Not only for me, but most other quirk users. Yeah, I know. And so far, I don't think there's a way that I can actually create holes that aren't anti-magic. Seems like everything is anti-magic inside that zone. Okay. So, Mineta. Yeah? I want you to throw your balls in the water. Froppy, I'm going to activate my black form and send us flying. Afterwards, I want you to ton Mineta. That sounds inappropriate. Okay, I want you to wrap your tongue around Mineta. So then when I pick up you, I carry you, And then Minetta's there too. This allows us to take us to the mainland, where Minetta can set up a perimeter of balls right on the outskirts to make sure they can't get out of the water. Okay. That plan sounds very similar to something Aizawa would come up with. Well, I have been training with Aizawa recently, and one of his crash course lessons was how to come out of a situation when you're fucked. That sounds like a very validated course. It was, and it was pretty fun too. Now, do we understand? Yes. They activated their plan. Deku instantaneously went into his black mode. The people off the boat could see just like a slight black aura go over the top, and figuring it was one of the kids' quirks. But soon after, purple balls started to come off the top there, which confused the personnel in the water, as they had just only stuck to the top of the water. And then eventually, a black blur appeared on top there, flying super quick. Deku still hadn't trained 100% to control his new increased strengths, so the speed was immense, way quicker than anything else he had actually experienced before. Deku's personnel became nothing but a black blur as he quickly spread across to the other side. As soon as he got across there, he said, "Minetta, now!" Minetta started to rip off balls off the top of his head and chuck them all along the perimeter of the water to make sure none of the villains can get outside of the water. Afterwards, Deku quickly met up with back to the center. When he got there, he found out that the main group had left. Not the main group. Ida had left, and that the main group were kind of surrounded. Deku saw Katagiri, and he instantly took out his Demon Slayer sword and swiped at the black smoke, causing Katagiri to feel sharp pains everywhere. He's like, "Huh? What was that?" Deku smiled and he said, "So you are a mutation style quirk user," which kind of confused Katagiri until he started to get attacked constantly. Every time that boy cut his mist with his sword, it pained him greatly, and Katagiri knew this. So he asked the boy, "What's your name, boy?" My name's Izuku Midoriya. How's your day?" As he slices one final time, causing Katagiri to almost fall unconscious until he teleported back to Shigaraki. He tells Shigaraki, "Master Shigaraki, it's time to go. They have a boy there that can easily put a stop to our plans." "What do you mean?" "His quirk allows him to deactivate quirks of even mutation style. This could cause intense issues for the Nomu. We need to pull out now." Shigaraki starts itching under his face. He's like, "And we were meant to kill All Might too." "Fine. I'm not a guy who runs straight into the war zone without a plan. We'll pull back today. Let's go, Katagiri." "Yes, Shigaraki." As they pulled out, smoke begins to leave, as the rest of the villains were slowly being taken out by Aizawa. Eventually, All Might showed up and helped Aizawa take out the rest of the villains. A few of the students had helped, including Deku, which raised his popularity among the students. And then they all went home that night. When Deku was in bed, he started talking with his devil. They had a light conversation about today's events. And Devil's like, "That frog girl, she seems very kinky." And Deku kind of sighs at this, and he's like, "Can you think of anything other than sex jokes?" "No, not really. That's about all I'm here for. Kid, you're talking to a devil, not a human. You really want me to think of something else other than sex jokes?" "Fair enough, fine. Good night." "Good night, kid." And that's the end of this video. If you liked it, hit the like button. And if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button. And until next time, goodbye.